Firstly, Richard, I imagine it's a fair bit of frustration you haven't got more out of the last couple of games than just the 1 point.
Well, yeah, you can say that, but I've been of a mindset for a while, Aaron, that every point has been crucial, and I think maybe one or two have been a little bit blasé about us not getting involved where we don't want to get involved, and I think even the likes of yourself have looked at me a little bit surprised at times, and felt that we're well clear. The reality is we're not. It's going to take a ridiculous amount of points to finish fifth bottom this year, and we're only safe because of the way the fixtures fall over the last two rounds. We're not mathematically safe yet. And you look at Stockport and Lincoln, two big clubs, and what they're going to have to go through over the next two rounds, and obviously our opponents at the weekend. And there's a big part of me that's just pleased that we're not involved in that, because you look at the win at Grimsby, the 3 draws over Easter, the last minute winner against Woking, and how vital those results were. And maybe people sort of looked at my reaction after those results and thought, well, what are you going on about? But I think we always knew with what's gone on this year that it might be tight. So there's an element of me that's pleased that we're not going to be involved in that situation. But there's also an element of frustration in that we'd probably like to be where Hereford are. And I think, full credit to them, because had we got to that sort of total, then I think, we would have been fairly comfortable with that. I mean, we've long since set a total of over 60 points. And we'd like to have already been there. We can still get there, but we've got to win the last 2 games or get enough out of the last 2 games to reach it. And don't get me wrong, I know that's not enough going forward, but I think with what's gone on this year, there is a large part of me that's quite pleased that we're not going to be involved in a frantic, last 2 games.
I mean, there were promising signs at Wrexham, second half especially. Is that the way you want to sort of try and play going forward?
I think we've had a look at it at times. The performance at Grimsby was well merited. The result was well merited. The performance was excellent. And I think at times we've looked at it. But I've also, as I've already alluded to, I've tried to be a bit pragmatic and make sure that we've picked up enough points and not get ourselves in trouble. But it's it's a little bit more like we'd like to play. The problem is that you need quality to do it, and we have to decide over the summer whether we can afford that quality. So, that's something like I'd like us to play. Yeah.
And this Saturday, you playing Barrow. You've talked about the whole relegation situation at the moment, and effectively, I think you could send them down at the weekend. So, how would that affect the way they come or the way you play?
Well, I think it'll affect the way they come. They've got to win the game, but unfortunately, there's no sentiment in this game. Our only thought process is that we want to send our supporters away happy, and if the result is what you've just said, then that's the way football is. Look, I've never picked a team whilst I've been here, to experiment or look at something a little bit different. I've always tried to pick a team pragmatically to get a result, to keep us out of trouble. And on Saturday, we're going to pick a team to send the supporters away happy. That's the top and bottom of it. Really important to us to put on a good performance Saturday and get 3 points. And it would be really nice if we could have a good crowd to do that. But, I think it probably helps us that there's something on the game. And like I've said, unfortunately, there's just no sentiment in football. You look after yourselves.